Good afternoon, everybody. We are here for the first Facebook Live with a partner that we've done the entire year. So, Phil, welcome. You are partner.
Really? The first?
Yeah,
All right.
first one all year. We're here with Phil Shoemaker. Many of you guys already know and love him, formerly of Homepoint, now leading the charge over at the Loan Store. We're going to be chatting about all kinds of things today. What happened at Homepoint, where TLS is headed, what's going on in the market right now, and what we can look forward to in the future. So before we get started, Phil, it's good to have you back.
Nice to be back. I'm excited to be back. Having a lot of fun. Looking forward to talking about it with you.
Awesome. Well, we are going to kick things off in just a minute, but please, if you have questions for Phil, drop them in the comments. We'll watch them. We'll try to answer them all live. So if anything comes up that you are interested in learning more about, questions that you want him to answer while we're here, just drop those in the comments and we will do our best. So Phil, you've been with the Loan Store for about 3 months. Can you just give us a rundown of how it's going? How did it get started? What's going on right now? Give us the scoop. How are things over at TLS?
Yeah. They're great, actually. The 3 months feels more like 3 years at this point. It's I will say this: I'm super excited about this opportunity because it really does check all the boxes for me. It's a lot of the people that were involved in the Loan Store are really close personal friends of mine that I've known honestly for my whole career. In fact, one of the main principals was the individual that brought me into the mortgage industry. He was the CEO of a company called First Magnus, and so it's a little odd that it's things kind of come full circle in life, but that part is honestly something that's really important and special to me. I like the people that we're working with, and then the second thing is it's a startup. That's kind of my jam, Katie. I'm a builder. I like to get my hands dirty and figure things out. And there's a lot of really good raw material at the Loan Store, and I'm just very, very excited about what we're doing. So
that's awesome. So as far as team members getting things off the ground, licensing, where is all of that right now? What are you guys working through?
All of the above. I will say, I think in my entire 28 years, this is the fastest I've ever seen a team get aligned and mobilize and execute. Just to give you a sense for, how fast we're moving. When we started moving over the associates from Homepoint, I think the Loan Store was doing about 20 million a month. We're now, this month we'll probably do upwards about 230. We pre-built the capacity where we could easily support, about 400 million. And so we've solidified the operational side of the business. We're kicking butt on underwriting and closing. We're working through a lot of system stuff that was an impediment early on. We just rolled out FHA, just rolled out non-del. So literally in the last, call it 3 months, we're doing all the heavy lifting. And I think this will be our first full month where we have, I'll say, all the pieces and parts that we need to start scaling from there.
That's awesome. You guys brought about 100 people over from Homepoint, right? So many of the faces that people were familiar with at Homepoint, the account executives that they grew to know and trust, a lot of those folks made the move over. Why do you think that's so? Wholesale or Homepoint, obviously, very large, very established. Probably, I would venture to say, maybe a little more rigid than a startup environment, right? A lot of structure. But you guys are, yeah, you did great. Homepoint was an amazing company, but a lot of people grew used to that environment and decided to still go over and join a startup anyway. Why do you think that's so?
Yeah, I think that if I look at all the honestly, it makes me it's humbling, I'll say, to get the support of the people that came over. A lot of the people that joined TLS from Homepoint are people that have been with me personally for a long time, years and years and years. And so there's a lot of I'll say close personal connection there. Ideally we would have brought more people, but you got to start somewhere, and so the core group was a very connected group of people where there's already a lot of built-in trust and familiarity in terms of how we operate. And I think to a large extent, that's why when you marry that with the existing team at TLS who's all, I mean, it's a badass team. I mean, some of the people that were at TLS are people that I worked with, 25, 27 years ago. And so it's just a very, it's kind of like a glove. It just fits, everyone's really, really jiving and working well together. And as a result of it, I think I'm really proud of what we're doing.
That's awesome. You have, you've mentioned a couple of companies that you've been with previously. Obviously, all of our AIME members are going to know you from your time at Homepoint. You were with Caliber previously as well, and some other very large lenders over the course of your career. I'm curious, because TLS is newer, what are some of the things from your time at Caliber and Homepoint that you are looking to emulate? But also, what are some of the things that you are looking to do very differently than you've been able to build things in the past?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question, because it is funny. Like you never really stop growing in life. Like you're always learning. And here's what I've learned. There's really nothing that's like, nothing's ever failure or bad or anything. Like it just is. It's like you do something and everything comes to an end, hopefully TLS never ends, but at some point it might, it's like, you just don't know, like things just evolve with time. And through that, you'll learn a lot. And I'll say this, I think what I am most excited about in terms of, applying some of the lessons that I've learned in my past is I think that in too many cases, people overcomplicate mortgage. And what I mean by that is I've kind of, and this might sound silly, but I've kind of come to the personal view that it really is about just being really good at mortgage. It's like, there is no like, yes, you need like technology and you need products and things like that. Yeah. But it's, if you want to be successful and more importantly, if you want to be happy, like I think what I've really had to kind of be introspective on is, what am I trying to, accomplish in life? What do I want out of life? And look, I have an ego and I have, personal goals, and I'm a very competitive human being, but I think, and maybe it's the old age we were just talking about before. Right now, like I'm at a stage in my life where I just want to be happy. And I want to prioritize, being, I'll say, focused on being able to focus on the things I want to focus on. And that doesn't mean that, again, prior experiences were bad or not good. It's just like, I'm kind of at the stage in my life where I have a very specific view of what I want to accomplish and I want to go do it. And what that is I want to be a very good wholesale lender, period. Like I want to perfect that. I don't want to be and this is probably gonna come out the wrong way, but I want to be a leader in technology. I don't need to be a fintech company. I don't need to like do things creative. I want to take this I'll say very talented skill group of people that I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by, get them organized and build a kick-ass mortgage bank that we can all be very proud of and operate for the next 30 years. That's my goal.
That's awesome. And specifically, you said wholesale, and many folks might not know this, but you've shifted to pretty much exclusively focusing on the wholesale channel in the time that I've known you. I think we've known each other now probably 5 years. Can you believe that? I think we've known each other for 5 years. That's kind of
wild. I guess maybe a little longer. Am I, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Back in the Caliber days, about 5, 6.
Yeah, it was still, it's still in the Caliber days before you went to Homepoint. So why wholesale? You're talking about putting your life professional goals, the things that you aspire to, specifically surrounded in this channel. Why? What is it about brokers and wholesale lending that draws you in like that?
Yeah, I think what I like most about it is, so let me give you some context for what I'm about to say. So at Caliber, I had which was a great experience as well. I had an opportunity to run all the channels. I spent a lot of time building, wholesale and retail and correspondent direct. And one, I think that you can choose in life, you can choose to focus on something and be really good at it, or you can try to do a whole bunch of things and maybe not be so good at a whole bunch of things. And so part of it is just being like selective around what I want to focus on and be really, really good at. So that's part of it. But when it comes to, all right, why picking wholesale versus retail? Like, I think what draws me most to wholesale is look, mortgage is very much a relationship business, and it's driven by the way homes are bought and sold in the U.S. And I don't see that changing. I see it evolving, but I don't see it materially being disrupted or changing material over the next, call it 20 years, right? And so relationships are still going to matter, is what I'm trying to say. And so this business is all about purchase. The core of mortgage banking is being able to access and be effective at driving purchase business. And that revolves around the relationships that exist at the local market between the originator and the real estate agent. And there's two ways to access those relationships. There's retail and there's wholesale. Both of them are effective. Both of them are here for good, right? You can argue that one is going to grow share over the other, which I will, but it's not to say that one is bad versus the other. It's just a personal preference. And the reason why I think wholesale will continue to gain share, especially in the upcoming market, is you have choice in wholesale, right? So the originator, the fact that they have the ability to say, I want to send this loan to this lender versus this lender, gives them choice. And through that choice, they are now on the side of the borrower, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas in the case of retail, doesn't mean the originators are bad or they're not doing the best thing that they can for their borrowers. But the sheer fact that they only work for one lender means they have zero choice. They have to send that loan to that lender by definition. And so I think that just like any industry or any market, competition breeds efficiency. It breeds a better experience, better product, better price for the consumer. And I think you're going to see that in mortgage. And I think wholesale is what breeds competition and provides choice.
Well, the competition part, I think, is something that we acknowledge it, but we don't always acknowledge how much of an impact or influence it can have on the industry as a whole, right? Particularly when we're looking at the top 10, 15, 20 wholesale lenders out there. And many of the leaders who've worked at multiple companies on that list have driven the industry forward in ways because they were competing with each other. And when you guys compete, it's better for brokers. And when brokers compete, it's better for consumers. So it tracks all the way down the line. Sort of along the lines, but pivoting a little bit off of that, we've gotten 15 minutes, so we're just going to address the elephant in the room. I gave you 15 minutes before I asked this question.
Oh boy.
The Homepoint, very beloved, also on that list, also a company that drove a lot of evolution in the industry and did a lot of really great things for mortgage brokers over an extended period of time. Obviously, that did not work out and the dynamic at Homepoint shifted. I know that there's certain things that you can't share, but I'd love to hear from your perspective, what led to that point? Because I think we have a lot of members who are sitting here going, what about the rest of the companies on that list? What should we be watching out for? How is that list going to change and evolve of the lenders that I'm used to working with and the ones that are new to the market? So it's a long question, but where did things go? What happened with Homepoint?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I'll say I'm proud of Homepoint. I'm proud of what we did. I'll say I will be forever thankful of the relationships I built there. And you can look back on anything in life and you can what's the term, Monday morning quarterback it and say, I could have done this differently. Couldn't done. And the reality is I don't think there's any way to actually do that. And so I would say this, I don't really look at that experience as a failure in any way. I think it was a great success. And I think in many ways, it ended the right way. And so I think the key though, to your point, is the sheer nature of wholesale means you have to continue to keep your options. You have to have relationships with multiple lenders. It's like, it's like there is a concept in like businesses will come and go, right? For what reasons they come and go, like you can never really know that, right? It's a very dynamic and ever-changing thing. Businesses will come and go. The world evolves, period. And one of the benefits that you have in wholesale is you're insulated from that fact. You have the ability to and have access to multiple options. And so I wouldn't say that people should be concerned or looking at other lenders and wondering, all right, who's next to fall? I think what people should be doing is saying, look, I'm actually in a position where I can control my own destiny. I can fight and best support the consumers that I serve. And the reason for that is because when options go away, other options will pop up, enter TLS, right? And so I think that I'm trying to be careful because sometimes my words can be misconstrued, especially in the Homepoint topic. I'm really proud of what we did. I don't think anything was done wrong. I think it was all done the right way. Yes, there's an inside story that I can never go into, but it's something that just is. And the world changed and evolved, and everyone's going to be better for it.
Yeah, I think that as we have a partner who's going through not the same situation that Homepoint did, but has been in the media a lot lately, and a lot of the members. And I appreciate the desire to have answers, but we get a lot of questions and a lot of, well, why can't you tell me exactly what's going on at this lender right now? And it's more
You'll never know.
Exactly. It's just more complicated, right? And I think people would appreciate hearing your perspective, largely because yes, brokers are going to have, you guys, everybody watching, you're going to have your business impacted if something happens with a lender. But what you also have to understand is everybody at that lender is fighting tooth and nail to keep things going forward. And the second the news starts to leak, it's an inevitability. There is nothing left, right? Everybody starts to pull everything and there's nothing left to try to save because it starts to dissipate so quickly. There is so much effort going into pushing forward and pushing through a market that is very challenging. All of our partners, Homepoint was one of them, had to staff up so quickly during COVID. And then to see the market shift so aggressively in such a short period of time, that's dramatic change. And it was change that was forced by the market to be able to serve brokers more effectively because they had to grow. And then it was change forced by the market to have to contract really quickly. And it just doesn't always work. Sometimes it's just that simple. It just doesn't always work.
That's well said. And I will kind of add something to hearing what you're saying. I think the one thing I did take from this is, and I hope I never participated in this before, but it was shocking how many people root for your failure. I don't really understand that. And what I'm saying is like, look, the nature of wholesale is I'll use myself as an example. I want more wholesale lenders. Like I try to be as supportive as I can with my peers. And I lean on like, look, execution is going to be what differentiates us, not necessarily, one person, staying in business or not. It's execution. And so I think that as a community, we should be all very supportive of more wholesale lenders because that is the key to wholesale. It's having optionality.
Absolutely. And it's also understanding that not every option is going to be the right fit for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that option shouldn't exist in the market available for somebody else to work with, right? There are plenty of lenders out there that are not aligned with our mission, right? And that's no secret. There are wholesale lenders out there that don't align with AIME's goals and our objective and where we want to take the channel and how we want to support our members. That doesn't mean, and you can go back and look at anything that I've ever said in a public or private forum, I've never rooted for somebody else to fall because the option has to exist. If the options go away, there's no more accountability. And there's no more reason for evolution, right? To push lenders forward. That more options means you have to get better all the time to stay in the competition. Eventually, if it starts to dwindle too much, there is no reason to keep evolving because you will just own the market. We've seen it with certain technology companies.
That's right.
Right? I mean, look at the enterprise side of things. I know you're more familiar on the retail side as well. There are solutions out there that own so much of the market. There is nothing you can do to try to force a change in behavior because they know they own it. And that's it. That's the end of the story.
It stops innovation. It stops price efficiency. It's not a good thing. Competition is good. And at the same time, when companies do fail, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing either, because look, I'll use myself as an example. I learn almost as probably more from my failures than I do from my successes, right? Because sometimes learning what doesn't work is more effective than knowing what does, right? Because now you have something you can do differently.
Absolutely. And same thing goes for watching how other people operate their businesses, right? One of my favorite ways to learn from failure is to also learn from other people's failures, right? You learn from their successes, and that can be really motivating, but also identifying what was a success for one person would be considered a failure for me. That's fine, but it's not necessarily the fit for me.
That's right.
All right. So shifting over, I'll stop berating you about Homepoint now, unless somebody else asks another question. I do see a question in the comments, and I'm curious your perspective on this because I kind of have mixed feel. I'm still developing my opinion on this subject. Where do you see AI in lending? What's your perspective on how that's going to influence the industry?
I love this topic. So I'll give you a little context to my answer here. I come from technology. That's where I started. I spent almost a little over half my career. I built 2 LOSs. One was for a company called First Magnus, and the other one was Caliber. And I can tell you that early on in my career, my perspective was to try to automate the people out of mortgage. And I have come full circle, or not full circle. I've done a complete 180 on that over, now that I understand the way the world really works. But it is funny. I remember, if you go back all the way to the late 90s, I can remember going through the different cycles, and it's the same thing. It's like you get, I remember when the .com, boom happened, and it was all about, oh my God, it's going to change the world. And you're going to, the mortgage industry is going to be fully automated and blah, 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 blah. I don't see AI as anything other than that. Look, there will be things like take for example, the .com boom. You probably don't remember this, being the young pup that you are, Katie, but there was a day.
I remember that's how Mark Cuban got rich and bought the Mavericks. So I kind of remember, I got some ties to it.
There was a day when you actually took a 1003 on paper, and it had these 3 sheets as carbon copy paper, is white and yellow and pink or something like that. And you'd take the 1003 and you'd have the copies, and then we would take locks via fax machines, and then the .com boom happened, and fast forward 5, 6, 10 years now, everyone's taking locks online, and I guarantee I would be shocked if there's any company out there today that takes a 1003 on paper yet. Right? You still see the industry is driven by relationships and people. And so I don't think AI is going to look, if AI is able to fully take over and automate mortgage, we are definitely in a Terminator scenario where, it's become self-aware and we're all dead. Like, there is no, to me, it's it's literally bullying. It's like Terminator scenario, or it's just going to help us do our jobs a little more efficiently. And I don't see it materially changing things. I really don't. And I know that's probably not a popular view. And I'm an electrical engineer. I'm a technology person. Like I like to view myself as one, but I'm a little jaded by it, because I don't think the industry is so relationship and people centric. I don't think you can take it out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I remember when I first got into the mortgage industry, because AI is a hot topic right now, but technology development has been the topic at the forefront of conversation for probably 10 years in the mortgage space, longer, but the digital renaissance, if you will, of how everything became available online. I remember being at Digital Mortgage back in 2018, probably, when I was working at Arrive and speaking about how the changes were finally starting to hit wholesale and so on and so forth. And there was so much of that conversation centered around how millennials were going to be the first generation that didn't want to work with a person, that only wanted to do things online. It was my generation that was supposed to be the one that said, forget the relationship. We want everything accessible at the tip of our fingers. And I can tell you, as somebody smack dab in the middle millennials, I bought 2 houses. And both times I've been so hyper dependent on my loan, and I work in this industry. I understand mortgage. I know how to do things. And I still was like, not a chance in hell will you get me to only do things online. I have questions. I have things I want to talk about. And I think that's where on the AI side, leaning into it to create efficiencies in your business. And there are ways that brokers can do that too. We have a topic at Fuse, actually, we're going to dive really deep into how you can utilize ChatGPT to make your day-to-day life easier. When we talk about AI as a replacement of a human being, we are just in a spot where buying a house is probably the biggest financial decision a person will ever make. And I just don't see an environment where people at mass, at scale, right? Obviously, there's one-offs and individuals have their own personal preferences, but I don't see us getting to a place where human beings are comfortable having 200, 500,000, $1 million transactions taking place by talking to a computer screen and not actually talking to a person and understanding the trust that goes along with making a decision like that.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
All right. So we're getting close to 30 minutes. I'm like looking at the comments coming through. I think we've covered most of this stuff so far. So I have a couple questions I want to wrap it up with you that we're going to try and ask. We're actually, for those of you, I didn't mention this at the top, we're going to do a mini series with all of our top partners. Phil is the one kicking it off. So we're going to ask this set of questions to all of our partners. So Phil, you get to go first. Obviously, the market is tough, both for lenders, also for brokers. Even consumers are feeling the pain in certain areas. What is one thing that brokers can do today to grow their business immediately? Something they're not taking advantage of, something they could be doing better. From all of the clients that you see, all of the partners that you work with, what's one area of focus you would suggest everybody get involved in?
Yeah, I think the key one, realize that you're building your business for the next market, not today's market. And so continue to ground yourself in what drives mortgage, which is purchase. And so as an example, one of the things that we're doing and our focus is, all right, how can we take, and rather than just in addition to just the conventional government, kind of vanilla ice cream products, add things that help people build their business, but their purchase business, right? And so as an example, and we're not the only ones that do things like this, but we are with this specific product, we do have a little bit of an edge on it. So, something called buy before you sell, where our strategy is, all right, if the issue in the industry is inventory, right? How do we figure out a way to create more inventory? And one of the biggest barriers that potential buyers have is selling the existing home that they're in. And that's it's a qualification issue. It's just a pain in the ass issue. You got to sell the house when you have, your dog and your kids at home, that kind of thing. And so we've developed a product called Buy Before You Sell with a real estate fintech company called Homepoint that basically allows the borrower to get out of their home, buy their new home, and then sell their existing home in a way that maximizes the value of their existing home as well as protects the relationship with their agent. It's a really, really cool product. So that's an example. So I think the key is you got to focus on purchase and focus on the friends. Like, it's not just about you got to learn different things. You got to lean in the areas, and we're seeing it all over the place. We're seeing, the good news about this market is I think that a lot of like I'll say the non, Wayfair or the part-time mortgage bankers are kind of out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, right, what you're left with right now are the people that have been in it for many, many years, know what they're doing, right? And so I think the key is get through this market, and how you get through this market, continue to find yourself in purchase, lean in on the fringes, and be positioned for the next market, because that's when you make much money.
Absolutely. Where do you see wholesale a year from now, and then also 5 years from now, right? Like, when are we going to start to see the market shift? Are we going to see it in the next 12 months? And then where do you see the channel going over the next 5 years?
Yeah. So I think that right now you are seeing movement. And I know you have a lot of data on this, Katie, that we're going to share at Fuse, which is cool. So I do see that wholesale will continue to grow in market share. That's supported by the data and also the fundamental concept of choice that we talked about earlier, right? I think that in the next 5 years, you see wholesale market share grow into the high 30s, low 40s. I think that is, I would bet a lot of money on that, man, just because of the current incumbents in wholesale and the dynamic of choice. You're going to see it grow.
Awesome. Good. Well, that's what we all want to hear, right? We have some more stats we're going to roll out at Fuse, but we are of the belief that by the end of the year, we could pretty definitively say broker market share will be north of 25%, which we've been shooting towards. I know since I joined the AIME team at the beginning of 2019, that was always the first target was, how do we get to 25? And it looks like we're right there. We're right on the cusp of crossing over and keeping it there. And so the next mile marker, you heard it, high 30s. We got a lot of work to do the next 5 years.
Yes, we do.
Great. And then last question for you. Well, that's not true. I'm going to ask 2 more questions. One of the last questions for you. A lot of AIME members are already working with the loan store. For those of you that were signed up with Homepoint previously, all of those broker agreements transferred over. So even if you don't know TLS yet, or you haven't worked with them, if you were approved with Homepoint, you are likely already approved with the loan store. But why should somebody give you guys a shot? If they haven't worked with you yet, why should they check out the loan store here soon?
Yeah, well, okay. We're really good at mortgage, man. I'm telling, like, we're killing it on the. We're killing. I'm so proud of our collective team. We're killing it. Like, what we're hearing from the partners that are engaged is, yeah, we're a young company, so we have some bumps. We're okay with that because we've leaned in where it matters. So when it comes to underwriting and things like that, I would bet there's no other place that's doing it as well as we are. So that's number one. Number two is, here's like, rather than try to diversify through multiple channels and things that distract from wholesale, our strategy is pretty simple. We're going to do things that are only additive to wholesale. And so in addition to being really good at the core, our strategy is, how can we deploy these unique things like buy before you sell I talked about earlier. We have a hard money lender. That is another way for people who are looking for income. It's a referral-based program. The average loan amount is $400,000. You make $4,000 for referring these loans over. So the idea is, like, take the network that we have, that we acquired through Homepoint, and deploy all these additive products that are supportive of the larger community, help our brokers when the market's hard, and also diversify our business, given the competitive nature of wholesale.
Exactly. If you have questions about the loan store, you can always reach out to us. We can get you connected with them. You can connect with them in AMP. Sure, we'll drop contact information in the comments for everybody as well. Last question before we wrap up. What are you most looking forward to at Fuse? AIME Fuse is right around the corner. We've got a month until we're going to all be out there together in Vegas. You've been there many times before. You've seen Fuse over the course of probably since the very first one in 2018. Yeah, you've been to you've been to one more Fuse than I've been to. What are you most looking forward to at that event?
This is an easy one, Katie. It's having drinks with you, sister.
Hey, look at that. I didn't even pay him to say that.
No, I'll give you a real answer. I do mean that. Like, I think that one, I always enjoy hanging out with your team, but two, I think what I'm liking most about like, I feel like there's just some really good people on this channel. I've built some lifelong relationships, people I just absolutely, brokers, friends at other lenders and competitors. And so I do like Fuse in that, unlike a lot of the conferences where it just feels very hollow, Fuse to me it's a great time to connect with people, given, everyone kind of descends on Vegas, right? And then I think the content is really spot on. You guys do a great job at organizing that event. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
You guys can all catch Phil. He will actually be on our advocacy and action panel with me, with Brenda McKay, with our lobbyist, Kelly Williams from Forbes Tate. We're going to be diving into all of the things that we're working on at the federal level on the advocacy side. If you don't know this, Phil has been a huge advisor and supporter and proponent of all of the advocacy work we've done with the Broker Action Coalition, with the backpack. He was one of the first people to donate his own money to the backpack last summer when we originally launched it. So thank you so much, one, personally, for being a huge supporter. We're so excited to get to work with the loan store and to see what kind of products y'all bring to market. There's always something cooking in Phil's brain, and it's going to be really exciting to see how it all shakes out over the next couple of years. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Phil, and we will catch you on the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie.